And let's break the story down for you with Shubhendu Ghosh is joining me. He's joining me from the newsroom, and Professor Swaran Singh, professor at the School of International Studies at JNU, is also joining me. Let me first start with you, Shubhendu. Now, we saw in that clip, clearly it's raining. But, you know, is Trump setting a new precedent also by changing the venue of his inauguration? After all, it's not really that cold. It's only about -4, according to what Google gives us the temperature for this time of the year.
Well, Mark, there are some unprecedented aspects to the oath ceremony of the new president. I'll come to the weather in a bit, but usually the inauguration of a US president is seen as a domestic event. You have ambassadors of different countries present apart from the leaders from the nation. But here we also see leaders, a galaxy of leaders being invited who also happen to be, in a way, friends with Donald Trump. So in that sense, it is something unique that we're going to witness as far as Trump's inauguration is concerned. The weather, it's a bit of a dampener. It is hovering around -4. It is said to be one of the coldest inauguration days ever in Washington, D.C. Also, keep in mind the outgoing president who's going to be present at the ceremony is 82 years old. The incoming president is 78. Perhaps indoor is going to be nicer and warmer. There are also world leaders who are going to be present. Also, thousands of spectators who were hoping to watch the ceremony unfold on the stairs of the Capitol. They will have another place to experience it from, the Capital One Arena, where Donald Trump addressed earlier. That area has been kept for thousands of spectators, around 20,000, to sit down and on big screens they can watch the inaugural ceremony as it proceeds inside the Capitol complex. The Capitol complex, the interiors will have limited space, of course. About 600 people will be accommodated there, only the key leaders. But Trump has said that once the inauguration is over, he will once again visit the Capital One Arena and address all the people who had come to witness the historic day.
But also, Shubhendu, what's expected in terms of executive orders on day one? He says very clearly that, you know, he's going to change a lot of things.
That's right, Mark. There is a sense of blitzkrieg once he comes into office. He does mention very clearly in last evening's address that he will seek to, within an hour, undo a number of what he calls radical decisions taken by the Biden administration. So that is one. In a broader perspective, 3 issues stand out. One would be dealing with the challenge of illegal immigration. Deporting 11 million illegal immigrants is no easy task. What is the manner in which it's going to happen? The borders are going to be closed immediately, is what he had suggested, so that the influx of illegal immigrants could be stopped. The second issue is going to be economy. That is at the heart of how he was voted into part, especially the middle class of America, the cost of living crisis, the manner in which it is bitten ordinary Americans. We'll have to wait and watch what are the immediate first steps that he takes in terms of tax cuts to bring relief to ordinary Americans. And third would be the manner in which America is perceived globally, especially in its engagement in global conflicts, the Ukraine-Russia conflict in particular. What is his first announcement, the manner in which he would want to bring it to a quick close, the manner in which we see a ceasefire successfusly, at least beginning in Gaza, is something that we'll have to look out for. Mark?
Thank you, Shubhendu Ghosh, for joining us and putting those things into context for us. Let's turn now to our expert, Professor Swaran Singh, for his expert opinion. You know, Professor Singh, is too much being read into who's who at this inauguration? What message is Trump sending out?
I think it's interesting, as the report just showed us on your television. It's first time that it's no longer a domestic event. A good number of international dignitaries, including India's foreign minister, is going to be among the guests there. So in that sense, in some sense, it is becoming a kind of an international event, not just a domestic event in United States. Second, as several experts have already said, including Indian foreign minister, this promises to begin a new era in international relations where the focus of US presidency is going to be much more domestic in terms of making America great again, rather than focusing on rearranging, reorganizing, stabilizing the global orders and so on. In that sense, the fact that there is also consensus about President Trump being seen as someone who's unpredictable would, I think, keep several world leaders very, very carefully on the toes, if I can say, to watch each of his speeches. He is very flamboyant and very direct in the
Right.
words he uses in his speeches and the kind of blitzkrieg that he wants to unleash as soon as the oath taking ceremony is over. So that does rattle, I suppose, several people around the world, several
Okay.
other partners and foes alike. But I think each next hour is going to be interesting to watch, as he's also going to address the nation after inauguration ceremony is over.
Indeed, Professor Singh, how quickly do you think Trump will contact Putin? He's indicated that's a priority.
Indeed, I think he's left no kind of confusion on that subject, whether it is during his election speeches or since he's become designated president, that this is one of his top priorities to arrange an early meeting with President Putin. And I suppose we are already seeing reports of his advisors beginning to work on meetings with President Putin, President Xi Jinping. He even spoke on phone as a designated president. And then, of course, also with regard to his meeting with Indian Prime Minister, who's going to Paris next month, where President Trump is also invited, that potentially could be their first chance to meet. They know each other very well. So in that sense, I think, yes, when he looks at his foreign visits and he looks at his leaders he wants to meet, President Putin is quite a top priority, as we have seen in all his speeches so far.
With many billionaires in this administration, do you see, average American interests being substituted by, let's say, the American dream being succeeded by, a few people? Biden, in fact, was worried about America becoming an oligarchy.
Indeed, I think that is an interesting new trend.
DL, WhatsApp audio.
That's an interesting new trend. Sorry for this phone call.
No problem.
That we see that this time the tech billionaires are also among the guests there. And we noticed that particularly the way Elon Musk has been able to project himself as someone who's very, very close to President Trump, and is beginning to talk in terms of influencing not just the domestic politics, but also politics across the world, particularly among several European partner nations. Does give that picture of tech billionaires, as we call them, or tech entrepreneurs, beginning to influence policy. But we also need to remember that the kind of major support base of President Trump is the blue collar industry workers in that sense. So, he, I'm sure, is going to be very careful. Indeed, we already see that certain gulf of his focus and the focus of some of these tech billionaires. So I assume that he will have to keep in mind his kind of main vote base.
Right.
Maybe to the middle class, it's going to be a little more challenging times with life becoming more expensive in that sense. But we'll have to see each time as the things unfold, and he often can be unpredictable, as I keep saying.
Finally, Professor Swaran Singh, what's expected, from the India-US Comprehensive Global and Strategic Partnership? How will it get a boost?
Definitely, there are areas where India will have to work very carefully in terms of overcoming some of the new challenges, but also areas where India can become very interesting, partly because if there are going to be trade wars with China, that would create additional space, not just in terms of geopolitics, but in terms of solid economic relationship, partnership, and so on. Trump very clearly has repeatedly said his focus is going to be on manufacturing sector that he wants to strengthen and revive. We could explore some partnerships in that, because India has been also focused on Make in India, and Advantage India is the capability to give, boost to production at a very low cost levels.
Right.
And if America wants to stay competitive in global stage, then maybe some kind of partnerships could be explored in certain areas, for example, in technology, in medicine, in some of the sectors like automobiles, where again Elon Musk is very interested to come and produce textile in India, and he wants some tax cuts and so on. So yes, there are going to be areas where India and United States will find it very, easy to work with each other, but also some of the issues, because the focus of American president is very clearly to make America great again. So that kind of tough bargaining is likely to take place. We are seeing possibility of informal meeting of 4 Quad ministers,
Yes.
and of course potentially formal meeting once more Rubio is approved. His name is approved by the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. So India is also quite on the cards in that sense of where
Sure.
President Trump wants to engage.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Swaran Singh. Thank you for helping us understand the subject in greater detail.